Hey guys, this is Jim. I trimmed the beard so hopefully you can still recognize me. Today I want to do part 3 of the multi-line rep series. So we covered in part 1 the difference between a distributor, manufacturer, and a manufacturer's rep or a multi-line rep. Part 2 is when to use a manufacturer's rep. Today we're going to go into advantages and disadvantages of a manufacturer's rep, and then we'll get into the other parts later. So today, disadvantages, advantages. I'm going to start with the disadvantages. There's one main one that we hear, and that is mindshare. So if you use a multi-line rep, that rep by definition has multiple lines. So some have 10, 12, some have 6, some have more or less. You get a proportionate mindshare to basically what your product is worth, how much you stack up. That does happen. It's absolutely true. You will try to set up some meetings someday and they will not be available. You will ask for additional calls and time and support and they may not be able to support it. That is something that you need to consider, and honestly it is probably the only main disadvantage that I hear and concerns people have. I won't get 100% mind share, which is true. So we're going to go into the advantages. The advantages we have, a couple of them are density. So if you are paying one person, that person usually has a pretty big territory, so they can't see customers very often. One line that we had decided to do a direct sales force, and now they have one person to cover 5 states, whereas in 5 states we had 20 people. So that's a good kind of reference. So density. This also feeds into my second advantage. So first one, density. Second one is cost. So in the same price that they paid for one person to cover multiple states, you could pay for 20 people to cover that same region. So instead of seeing your important customers once every month, you get to see them once, twice a week with a familiar face, somebody they're used to, who's local, who can relate with them. So that's a big one. Also kind of nitty gritty on cost. You don't have to do like the expense reports and stuff. You don't have to cover where did they go to eat and this kind of stuff. It all gets taken care of in the contract where you negotiate pricing and things. So density, cost for density, I will say. The next one is challenge selling. So challenge selling is huge, being able to do a good system solution for your customer. If you just sell one tiny part, that's really hard to do. If a rep has a whole portfolio, as we mentioned in the last video, they can either help incorporate your part into the bigger offering, or they can help a customer evaluate their entire system, as opposed to just one piece that fits in the system. So the last one I included is market insights. So if you want to know how different markets are doing, sometimes it's hard to get that information from the customer directly or from your own sources. But if you have a person who works with multiple lines at multiple customers and multiple manufacturers, this information is easier to get. So advantages, mindshare is a disadvantage. So disadvantage is mindshare. Advantages, the density, the cost a lot of the times, the ability to challenge sell, and market insights. So if you have additional advantages or disadvantages, I'd love to hear about them. Feel free to comment below, and I will put a link to the other videos. The next ones coming up are 4, how to select a manufacturer's rep or a multi-line rep, and then 5, the proper way to train and motivate them. So I look forward to doing those videos with you, and thanks in advance for the comments. Bye.